Okay, I see something blinking. Ready
Yeah,
to
we're
go.
live streaming now. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, here we are, Lance, Luke, and Martin Pea. Part of Ask the Building Expert series, we're giving these master classes, webinars, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for tuning in. Those are you of you who are on our web-based Zoom platform, and then also we're restreaming this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for those of you who have internet connection and it's not available in only one location. So we're broadcasting nationally and also internationally. The topic that we're going to cover has to do with construction issues. And in any country, I'm sure there's construction issues. So topic today is expert witness in construction defects, processes, case studies, and key insights. And I'll be available after I finish my presentation to take questions and comments and things like that. So this is interactive. This webinar is presented by Construction Management Inspection. And I'll go through these slides very quickly to get to the actual presentation. So before we get started, um, how we thought about this topic was I was actually on an airplane traveling from Honolulu to the island of Kauai, sitting next to somebody, and I was looking over some paperwork, and the lady next to me asked me, "Oh, can I ask you what you do?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a construction engineer, and I'm going up to look at I have an expert witness case that I'm working on." She said, "Oh, what does that mean?" So I said, "Well, you heard of CSI, where they investigate people who, got into an accident and died or something like that, and they try to figure out what the cause of death was." So I said, "I'm kind of like the CSI investigator, but instead of dead bodies, I look at buildings that have defects or failures." And she said, "Oh, well, that's interesting." So, going to be talking about construction issues and with respect to expert witness. So, in any construction project, you have your architect, engineers, general contractors, subcontractors. You may have a construction manager. You got all these different players involved. So let's say the project is finished and there's problems with the construction and it cannot be resolved and it ends up in some kind of conflict, and the conflict meaning either mediation, arbitration, or litigation. Okay, so it doesn't get really settled right away. So the attorney would recommend hiring an expert witness. Now, so let's say you're the homeowner or you're the developer or you're the condo association. Okay, so you need to have something fixed, and that's where the expert witness comes in. So we're talking about a third party, unbiased person coming in as an expert witness, and it's a not an accident case or personal injury. It has to do with construction defects or construction issues or construction problems, that kind of terminology. So what what is an expert witness anyway? You may have seen expert witnesses on TV, like a TV show, taking a stand in court and testifying about something having to do with an accident or um, some other matter. Okay, so in general, an expert witness is a third-party person that gets called in to give an opinion on what that expert uh, recommends or what his opinion on of the situation. Now, specific to construction, an expert witness investigates construction defects and explains technical findings clearly to support legal cases. And you may ask, well, what is a construction defect? A construction defect is any kind of problem with the construction that shouldn't be. In other words, maybe it's a brand new roof and the roof leaks, or brand new construction and the house foundation's cracking, or some other construction issue like that. There could be 100 different construction issues, okay, but we're not going to go into every single one. The importance of expert evaluation in legal cases, and let me let you know that not every case involves litigation. It could get settled on its own. It could get settled through mediation, where people get together and talk story, and there's a mediator that kind of guides the parties to some kind of settlement. There's also arbitration, where there's a arbitrator that's appointed or decided on between the parties, and that arbitrator acts in lieu of a judge. Okay, and then the other way to settle is the litigation, where it goes to court and it could be decided by a judge or a jury. Now, there's a term called alternative dispute resolution, ADR, and that's in lieu of litigation. So alternative dispute resolution comprises of either mediation or arbitration. The importance of expert evaluation in legal cases. The expert evaluations identify the cause and impact of construction defects, providing objective evidence that supports legal claims and helps resolve disputes. Now, it could be something simple as a $500 to $100 fix, or it could be something more complex that involves millions of dollars. So it's pretty much the same kind of protocol. And I'll be talking to you and explaining that. Sorry. So what is actually a construction defect? It's anything that is not according to the plans and specifications, and it's comprises of a problem. It's a problem to the construction, to the building. Cracked foundation, window leaking. Basically and legally, it means the builder, contractor, architect, or engineer did something wrong or failed to do something that caused the problem. Now, when I say builder, that's synonymous with contractor. And it could be a general contractor who's in charge of the entire project, or could be a subcontractor. On bigger jobs where you have one general and 30 subcontractors, each of the subcontractor is considered a contractor under the definition of builder or contractor. Okay. The first thing would be an on-site inspection. So let's say the matter doesn't get resolved and there's a need to hire the expert witness. The expert witness is hired, and the first thing that the expert witness does is want to conduct an on-site inspection to assess what the actual defect is. So, excuse me, this involves visiting the property to observe the conditions firsthand. Now, there's times when it's not possible to do that, meaning that if I'm hired as an expert witness and I go to inspect something, maybe that condition that was a problem has already been fixed. In other words, the contractor knew about it and fixed it before any kind of investigation was done. Okay, so not in every instance there's available physical condition to look at. Sometimes it gets covered up or it's already fixed. So let's talk about the different reasons why a situation could be considered a construction defect or construction could be considered defective. You have poor workmanship, which, by the way, is probably the highest percentage of cause of a defect. So that's poor workmanship, use of substandard materials. Maybe the contractor ended up using used materials from another job or materials that were sitting out in the rain and got water damaged, or the material itself was too cheap. It wasn't the higher grade type of material. The other reason could be a design error. Someone who designed the part of the building didn't design it according to standard practice, and that's why there was a failure. Also, failure to approve or failure to follow the approved plan. So let's say there's building plans and somehow the contractor didn't follow it to a T and decided to deviate from it, and that's what caused the problem. The other thing is that building code violations. So if a building code violation was the contributable fact to the defect, then already that's like a problem. Next is lack of proper inspection or oversight. So let's say someone's building a house and they don't hire an inspector to go there until after the house is finished. Okay, was there proper inspection or oversight on the construction? The answer is no, because no one came weekly or once a month to even check on things, right? So it's kind of common sense that if you do not have somebody inspecting the job in progress, meaning as construction goes on and only comes at the end, how can that inspector make a determination of, well, what is the condition of the piping and electrical roughing inside the walls? The walls are up, the drywall's up, the exterior siding's up. Unless that inspector has Superman vision, he's not going to be able to tell anything, right? So the inspection that the person does is not really complete. It's as complete as he can because it's only visual, but if things are there that he cannot see because it's hidden in the wall or in the attic space or all that, he can't do a proper job. The other thing that could be contributing to a defect is any kind of environmental factors. Could be hazardous materials. Let's say the contractor is building an extension to the original house, or it's building an addition. He has to cut up part of the roof, ceiling, walls, and all that. And it's an older house. And an older house may contain hazardous materials that are environmental hazards, such as asbestos, lead paint, volcanic sealing, and other factors like that. So all these 7 points are factors that could contribute to a construction defect or construction issue. So what is expert witness does, or what does an expert witness recommend? Initial steps. So usually it's like, if you consider the construction the scene of a crime, right? So normally everyone tells you don't touch anything, right? The scene of a crime, don't touch anything. We need to gather the evidence and all that without any kind of interference. So you don't touch anything at first, you just observe. You want to capture the original condition. Okay, that's the expert witness, but it could also apply to the client. If you're a homeowner, a developer, or a general contractor that has a claim against a subcontractor, you don't want to fix the problem. You want to document the problem first and take 100+ photos from different angles. Now, of course, it's common sense. If you only have one problem, you're not going to take 100 photos of that one simple problem. That might be overkill, but there's times when I go to a construction site or a property, and I may take hundreds of photos and maybe some video. Okay, I need to, and that's part of my evidence, right? Looking at it, document it, taking notes, and also uh, the photographic evidence and information. I would talk with as many people that are involved as possible. For instance, if it's a condo building, talk to the maintenance staff or residents, like, oh, how long has the roof been leaking? How long has this window been leaking? And do you notice that does it leak when it rains, or is there still water when it doesn't rain? In a plumbing leak situation, um, try to determine and eliminate all these different other contributing factors. So it's like a process of elimination sometimes. And then ask about the history. When did this leak start? When did you have this problem? When did you notice this foundation cracking? How often does it occur? How often does the water come out, drip from the ceiling? Does it stop? When does it happen? And sometimes when we determine a plumbing leak, it only leaks when the person, you know, above takes a shower or uses a faucet. So we try and gather as much information as we can. Um, the next thing is reviewing construction plans and compliance. How to identify deviations from approved plans? Well, of course, we need the approved plans as the baseline to determine what changes were made and what's not consistent with the approved plan. So the expert witness checks if the construction matches approved plan, looking for any changes or omissions. So there could be, let's say, um, a fence, and the plans show fence posts every 8 feet. But then what was built was a fence post every 10 feet. Okay, is that a deviation from the plan? Yes. Um, then the next question is, well, why was there a deviation? Why did the contractor determine that he didn't need to follow the plans, and what was his idea about making his own plans and not following the approved plans? So um, we look for any changes or omissions or things that just don't seem right. The other thing is verifying compliance with local and national building codes. So let's say if the plans were approved by DPP from the local jurisdiction, the building department, who gave the contractor the right to deviate from the plan? And he may have a valid reason. The contractor may say, oh, the architect came or the engineer came and told me to do this instead. Okay, that's fine, but what kind of documentation? Is there any written documentation via a change directive or change order or any kind of email or scribble on a piece of paper that says, here's what to do, maybe a sketch or a drawing. Here's what to do in lieu of what the building plan stated. Okay, you would need that. So the expert checks if the work follows building codes with violations potentially showing negligence or liability. So if the uh, developer or contractor says, oh, here's a letter from the architect or engineer saying not to follow the plans because the plans were wrong, to follow this instead. Okay, well, that's what the expert witness needs. Okay. In lieu of having any kind of evidence of somebody saying, and somebody of higher authority saying to do this and not that, um, it's basically liability on the contractor, okay, that did not follow the approved plans and specifications. Okay, so let's say the expert gathers all the evidence. He went to the project site, took his notes, took a bunch of photos, did his research and all that. Then that expert would start creating a expert witness report or comprehensive report, or maybe just a draft report. So the expert witness would prepare a detailed summary of findings, his or her findings used as key legal evidence, okay? Structuring the report to support legal arguments. The report is organized to clearly present facts, or should be, analysis and conclusions for legal use. And the conclusion, it would be the opinion of the expert. It's the expert's opinion, okay? How to present complex data in an understandable format. Okay, sometimes this is very hard where the expert needs to present complex details, but he has to simplify it with maybe a picture, some visual, some sketch, drawing, a chart or whatever in plain language for easy understanding. So the expert has to realize that you're not going to be talking to engineers or contractors necessarily. You have to explain it easily so the average common layperson can understand it, because the judge needs to understand it, and also the jury. If they don't understand what you're talking about, they're just gonna not want to listen to you anymore. So I'll give you some examples. This is case studies. These are examples that I'm giving you of cases that I worked on as an expert witness. So here's numerous defects in a high-rise condominium. If you're located in Hawaii, it's was in Kaka'ako, and it was here's a summary. A 40-story kind of luxury condominium building began showing numerous defects soon after completion of construction. Upon inspection, and I was hired as an expert witness, upon my inspection, it was discovered that the cost of repairing the defects were valued at approximately $14.5 million. Now, how was that determined? I spent days walking the property, common areas, from the foundation through the roof, every hallway, rec deck and all that, making a list. And it was a spreadsheet, numerous pages long. And in addition to stating the actual item that was defective, I had to do a write-up on what actually it was and the cause of the defect. And then in the next column, my estimate as to what the cost to fix the problem was. And of course, the other side didn't agree with me, but that's normally the standard. Okay, so the resolution and outcome, which took maybe 2 to 3 years later. So as the expert witness, I identified workmanship issues, design issues, and building code violations. These issues supported the homeowner association's claim. The settlement with the developer ended up in mediation, arbitration, and litigation. And the conflict was eventually settled for about $12.5 million. And the $12.5 million was paid from the developer, the general contractor, some of the subcontractors, some engineers, and also the various insurance companies that represented these design consultants and contractors and the developer. Okay, so this was a pretty big one. And then I worked on the largest class action construction defect lawsuit in Hawaii. Summary of the issue: the litigation case involved against the developer Haseko, who developed out in Ocean Point on the west side of Oahu. And well, when there ever is a lawsuit, in the actual litigation, they name the developer, architect, engineers, general contractors, subcontractors, anybody who had anything to do with building or designing the project. Okay, so even I guess they may have found out later who the building material supplier was, and they named that the company too, as well as others. So there was a lot of people involved in the lawsuit. And the gist of it was the construction defect was defective foundation, anchor bolts, and hurricane ties. And this case involved 2,500 homeowners who lived in single-family homes and townhouses. And the resolution and outcome: as the expert witness, I confirmed that the anchor bolts and hurricane ties prematurely failed. I recommended full repairs, which included demolition of the existing continuous load path devices, which are anchor bolts and hurricane ties, and their replacement. The litigation was eventually settled and various repairs were completed. Now, I want to make sure that you understand that I was the lead expert witness, but it wasn't me that made the call slowly, because we have to take sections of the hurricane ties, anchor bolts, and send pieces of the metal to a lab to look at the analysis of the metal content, how much zinc and brass and what percentage and all that. It gets really complicated. So it wasn't only me on the case. There could be maybe 20 other people involved as support of the expert witness category. There was like a CPA that got hired. I remember the lead attorneys that only do class action lawsuits was located in Beverly Hills in California. I had to fly up there to meet with the attorney to discuss the case. And the mainland attorney law firm hired local local attorneys in Hawaii to help do the legwork and everything. So it took years and years to get this settled, as well as numerous spreadsheets and redo of spreadsheets, and there was a lot of paperwork and documentation involved. So the importance of expert witness credibility and clarity: the credibility comes from being honest, professional, and clear. An expert who explains complicated problems in a simple and easy way, is more trusted and taken seriously in court. Pitfalls in both investigation and testimony. During investigation, the expert witness has to stay objective, document everything, follow the evidence, check for code compliance, keep records organized. And if the expert ever has to testify, either through a deposition or in mediation, arbitration, or in litigation in court, here's the qualities of the expert witness. The person has to stay calm and professional. You can't be arguing with the attorney that may be cross-examining you or getting upset, huffy-puffy, or being sarcastic, or calling the attorney names and things like that. That doesn't cut it in court. That just makes the expert look non-professional. Okay. And let me back up. I said the word deposition. Deposition is by court order, you're going to an office, and it would be the attorney's office for the most part, and under oath. So there's a court reporter there, and the opposing attorney would be asking questions, and you give the answer. So you swear to tell the truth, and that's what a deposition is. And the deposition transcripts are filed and recorded, and the court gets a copy. So it doesn't pay to lie or not tell the truth. So that's why, as an expert witness, when you're deposed or you're in court, you answer only what's asked. And you start, if you start like going on a tirade or talking about things that don't even apply to the question at hand, that's not good. Okay. And as an expert, don't guess, don't make up things. If you think that it's going to help your case, if you lie or make stuff up, that's not good. Eventually, it doesn't help the case. And then also, before you testify, you got to review your report beforehand. And when I talk to people about being an expert witness, or talk to attorneys about the expert witness role, some of these things I do go over. The importance of expert witness credibility and clarity. Credibility comes from being honest, professional, and clear. An expert who explains complicated problems in simple and easy way is more trusted and taken seriously in court. This looks like something I said already. Okay. Went through this. Okay, so the conclusion in all this is, whether, I know there's some homeowners here, developers, attorneys, and even some people who are expert witnesses or wanna be. I kind of like covered everything in a whole ball of wax, and I know there's specific data for each homeowner category, like each attorney and people who want to learn. But because there's only an hour that we have, I kind of combine things together, so kind of mesh everything together. So hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. Before we get to the Q&A, I want to just briefly let you know that we have a website that has all kind of information on construction, some real estate, information on buildings and all that. You can watch the free webinars on our website. And I think to date, we gave like 155 webinars already, master classes. What's coming up? Let me see. I have a list here. Okay, so the next master class is coming up in the future, uh, flammable cladding in Scotland. And you might ask, well, why am I talking about this? Because there was a high-rise building in London called the Grenfell Tower that had this exterior cladding. The whole building caught on fire and there were deaths and all that. So I'm going to talk about that subject. After that, there's calculating the cost of a change order. Anytime you're dealing in construction and there's extra costs or original to your base contract, this is what it's all about, right? Why are there additional costs? Why is there a change order? How do you calculate? How does a contractor calculate the cost of a change order? Then after that, another class on LA wildfires. It's a breakdown of the LA wildfires. I know you probably heard a lot about it, but I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that. After that, construction punch list. If you ever have a construction project done, renovation or new house built or new building, after the building is completed, there's an inspection and there's also a what's called a punch list, a list that has things that are incomplete. And I'm going to be talking about how to make one and what the importance is and how it's important if it gets into a legal situation. And then the last master class in December, home safety for the holidays. So can you believe there's about 100 days till Christmas? Man, time's flying. I gotta go through my Amazon list. And Martin, if you've been good this year, your name's on the Amazon Christmas list. So we'll see. Okay, so you may ask, well, what is this website you're talking about? It's called askbuildingexpert.now.site. And we're updating this website every single day. And we have a lot of information. There's a category called expert websites where there's about over 20 different websites about different things like painting, waterproofing, contractor licensing, asphalt, and other fire life safety and other important things like that. So that's, you can get the link through the website. Okay. Also have a National Building Expert blog, which we're always posting to. I'm sure you can learn stuff. And then the webinars and master classes, like I mentioned. We even have, and we're going to be posting it soon on our website, the 2026 topics. We have it all done. We had several meetings to discuss what topics. We had input from our viewers, and I think we have a pretty dynamite 24 topics that we're going to be talking about. By the way, if you have any ideas on future classes of information, let us know because we can always stick one in between as a pop-up. Oh, I forgot to mention books. There's a bunch of books available on the website on interesting topics. How safe is your building? Cast iron, drain piping, asphalt, monster houses, concrete spalling repair, senior safety in the home, Lahaina wildfire. To date, I wrote about 70 books, 70. Not all of them are available for free, but check it out. And then we have a couple of new websites we made, buildingcode.now.site and then constructionexperts.now.site. So we're always trying to build websites to help you and keep everything going. Now it's the Q&A part, so I'm going to bring Martin, and I noticed he didn't fall asleep, so that's a good thing. So I'm going to bring Martin on, see if he checks our social media, if there's any questions or comments from anybody. So Martin, you're on.
Yes, Lance, and I'm up. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we've had a few questions come in from our audience today, so let me hit them for you while we have some time here. The
All
first
right.
one is, how do you determine whether a construction defect is caused by poor workmanship, design error, or material failure?
Okay. So most of the defects that we see are determined to be workmanship issues. Somebody didn't do something right. So, for instance, and I'll give you a very simple um, analogy here. You you have your house painted, and you have, let's say, the body paint of your house is green, and your trim is white. And then you look at some areas of your trim, and there's green paint. Okay, so automatically that would be a workmanship issue because they just didn't touch up the white paint. It shouldn't be green. So that's an easy determination. Now it gets harder when, and a lot of times I let the contractor speak, and sometimes the contractor is the one that comes up with the determination. He says, "Oh, um, yeah, I use this drywall, but the drywall was like coming apart. So the contractor is saying the material is defective. And that's easy because I just let the contractor agree, and then I agree with the contractor, say, okay, so the material is defective, but it still falls under you, so you have to fix the problem. Okay, so the determination sometimes is very easy, and other times it's not. When it comes to a design flaw or design error, you have to bring in a design consultant, either the architect or engineer, to come in and take a look and let that person say whether it is or not. And on bigger projects, a lot of them um, would say, "Oh yeah, this shouldn't have been. This was wrong. Here's how to fix it," and then they would do a drawing to fix it. And that's easy because the design consultant is the one that admits. Now, when they don't admit, then it becomes more problematic. So, um, without getting into the weeds here, we sometimes have to look at the building code, look at the plans, and determine whether this is compatible or not. Or we go to what's the generally acceptable industry standard for this, right? And uh, the bottom line is, if I get two other roofing contractors to determine and say that this roof wasn't constructed properly, then that roofer who did the job is wrong because that's generally acceptable industry standards. Now, I would make the call first, but if the guy pushed it, then I'd say, if I got two other roofing contractors to come here, and if they agree with me, then you're wrong. So sometimes that's what we use too as a baseline. So hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, good. Thanks, Lance.
Sure.
The next question that came up was, what kind of documentation should a property owner collect before contacting an expert witness?
I would say make make your own list. So let's say you're the homeowner, you had an addition made or a renovation done, you had a new house built. You walk around on your own and you make a list of what, in your opinion, what you think is wrong and not right. So you make a list of those things, and then number 1 through 20 or 100, and then you take pictures or a couple pictures of each item. And so you're basically acting as your own expert, right? And that's very valuable because when the expert witness comes in, like let's say I get hired, you hire me because you can't settle it. I would say, do you have any information? What information do you have? And um, some homeowners are very diligent. They say, oh, I'll give you the documentation. Here's my list and here's all the photos I took and all that. Now that's very helpful, especially when um, the claim is, let's say, a faulty foundation, and the homeowner took pictures of the foundation showing rebar or no rebar, um, or no gravel on the bare ground before they poured the concrete. So as an expert, when I get to the property, the house is built already, right? So I can't see these things. So in that respect, these are very helpful to me. And then I can make my report based on the homeowner's evidence. Okay, so that's in lieu of me having to say, well, we're going to have to chip out sections of the concrete at your house to get more evidence. So that's the kind of thing a homeowner can do. Also, you have a little diary, um, or notes, email trail, documentation, emails going back and forth, document telephone calls, or on this day the contractor told me this, and come to find out it wasn't done. All that is very helpful. That's what you call evidence. Any kind of helpful information is evidence, whether it be photographs, homeowner's notes, sketches, or you know printed out text. A lot of people text nowadays, so I tell people, don't delete your text. Forward it to your email and print it out, and you have that saved, because it's easy to delete when you need room, or your text. It's like an email trail. The thing is like getting so long, you're like, I can't find what I said in a text a week ago. So that's why it's good to save all that, because who knows, you may need it. If you don't, that's fine. Right.
Okay, thanks, Lance. That's a good answer on that one, yeah. The next question that came up today is, how can an expert witness help in settling, I'm sorry, settling a construction dispute without going to court?
Sometimes just the fact that they have the expert's report, and it lists down, like, let's say there's a homeowner against a contractor, or a condo association against the contractor developer. The expert's report is so complete with opinions that support the situation, with photos and support documentation, that it sometimes it's hard for the contractor to argue, right, that they're right. So it helps to settle by um, providing all the evidence to make the contractor realize that um, they're not going to win this, or they're not right on these certain things, no matter what they say. Now, let me turn it around here. I've been talking about homeowner against contractor. As an expert witness, I represent mostly plaintiffs, which are homeowners or condo associations. Um, Now, there's times where I also represent the contractor. Okay, so in a situation where I would represent the contractor, right? My report would show why the contractor is correct, why the contractor needs to get paid, why the contractor didn't do a bad job. Um, the poor workmanship issue, I don't agree with that. Um, and uh, there are situations where my report goes in, and instead of going to court, they settle it, because they said, oh, well, the homeowner was so angry about the situation and didn't like the contractor, that they let their anger um, kind of coerce them to go into litigation rather than settling it. So my job is to tell the truth and provide the factual evidence, no matter which side I'm on. So I don't only represent homeowners or condo associations. I also represent contractors, developers, subcontractors, architects, engineers, and all that. It just depends on the situation of what type of case it is and whether I could be helpful. Sometimes I get asked by attorneys to review a case and I say I can't take it as an expert witness because I think your client, the contractor, is guilty, right? So they cross me off the list. So basically that's what happened.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah. So just kind of an add-on to that, I mean, what's been your experience in more that case where you've helped the contractors, or more the ones, the owners, property owners, homeowners that have been your experience with the cases in your vast experience and years of working on these expert witness things? What do you find yourself doing more?
Oh, definitely the majority of the cases I work on are plaintiff side. I'm known as a plaintiff's expert, and the plaintiff is the party that sues somebody. The
Oh,
defendant is the one that gets sued. So in a case like a construction issue, the plaintiff is the homeowner or condo association or developer, and the defendant is the contractor. So most times that's what happens. In fact, there's some cases they try and disqualify me as an expert by saying this guy's biased because he's a plaintiff's expert. He just works on only plaintiffs. So already he's going to testify against us. And I'm like, no, that's not the case, because if you look at my CV, I actually represented contractors also. So it just depends. I don't turn away any cases that come up, except if I feel I can't help them or there's a conflict.
okay, good, thanks. I was just curious because of all this expert witness work that you've done for so long. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, our next question is, what are the most common mistakes HOAs or property managers make when handling construction defects?
Hmm. Okay, so I think one of the main issues is they don't get an expert involved right away, or they're too slow at taking action. So for instance, um, new condominium associations, I think they should hire an expert right away to get involved instead of waiting too long. Or um, sometimes developers will say, oh, just give us a list and we'll go fix it. Okay? But the problem is, how do we know whether the fix is going to work? How do we know whether the fix is compatible and in accordance with the plans and spec, right? For instance, and not to get too technical, if they're supposed to use a certain product to repair the roof, and the developer just sends a handyman over and they just go pick up something from the local hardware store and use it, that's not the original material that you're supposed to use for the fix. So that's why I always say, don't let anybody fix anything without giving you document what what are they going to fix, how are they going to fix it, what materials they're going to use, and then what happens with the warranty. And make sure that the architect and engineer is involved if it involves an engineer. So in other words, don't bypass your design consultants and your contractors by just having somebody go there and do the work. So even if the original contractor who worked at the project went back to fix it, you still should ask the questions and document everything. Because I've had situations where, okay, so they came in and fixed 50 items that were on the warranty punch list. Can you tell me when did they fix it? What did they do? Who did the work? What material did they use? And they're like, oh, we don't know. We're just happy that they came back and fixed it. Okay, so let me ask you, what if they used the wrong material to fix it? And if it failed again? Oh, we'll call them back. Okay. So what happens if it fails and your warranty expires, then what? Can you call them back? Oh no, we can't. Well, isn't it their fault though? So that's why everything has to be properly documented. That's why you need experts. You can't just do it yourself unless the board that's on the homeowner association or the property manager is a experienced and qualified expert witness in construction defect. They shouldn't be trying to tackle this stuff themselves. They should just use professionals, because by not using a professional, they're already wrong already when something goes haywire. So that's just a word of caution there.
Oh, that's good. Good advice. Yeah. All right. And I think we have one more question here, and let me get that to you. How do you ensure that your expert witness report is understandable to non-technical audiences like judges or jurors?
Well, you know, a lot of expert witnesses and myself included in the beginning, I thought, oh, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna write a report that makes me look like uh educated, intelligent expert. So I'm gonna throw in all these hard engineering terms, and so I'm like, hey, I'm the guy, right? So so if it's a concrete spalling thing, right? My verbiage would have been the failure was due to the non-consideration of the modulus of the latticity, and the number 4 rebar cross section was corroded, and because of that, the concrete split apart and failed. And and then throw in, well, I don't think the PSI of that concrete was up to spec, right? So you throw in all this stuff, and it makes you sound smart, but you eventually look dumb. Because why do you look dumb? Because no one can understand what the heck you're saying, what you're talking about. And when the jury or the judge, well, here, okay, before it gets to the jury and the judge, the attorney that you're working with and your client has to review it, right? Um, and so they would look at it going, well, what does this mean? Can you so now I learn. And when people ask me, how come your report sounds like it's so simple? I said, yeah, thank you. Can you understand it? Could you understand what you're reading? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's the point. I don't need to be sounding like I have a PhD in engineering to be an expert, a good expert witness. I need to make sure my report is factual, tells the truth, and supports my client's case, right? By references, I have to make an opinion. Was this certain thing that I looked at, is it really a construction defect? If so, why? Why is it defective, right? Is it due to a design error? Is it due to a failed building material, or is it due to some workmanship issue? Why is it due to a workmanship issue, right? Well, the photo shows that the nail missed the piece that they're supposed to nail into, or they didn't even use the wrong length of nail for installing the roof, right? So, case in point, if I talk about wrong size nails, wrong size length of nails, nailing and roofing asphalt shingle, right? I also back it up by the manufacturer specifications that specify what type of nail to use in that particular area of the roof. And also there's a building code reference related to that same subject. So for instance, that nail has to penetrate through the asphalt shingles, penetrate through the underlayment, which is like tar paper, shark skin, whatever underlayment, and penetrate all the way through the roof decking, which is plyboard. If it doesn't, then it doesn't comply. And that's the bottom line. Now, when I state all that, the other side cannot argue, or they can try and say, well, this is the way we've always done it for 40 years. I don't think it's a problem. Oh, but we're giving a warranty that it's okay. Well, wait a minute. If you go to the manufacturer and you tell them, um, if the contractor used a nail that was too short, are you still going to warranty the roof? Their answer is going to be no. So when they're saying, oh, don't worry, we'll give you the warranty. So the bottom line is whatever, if the work is poor and the workmanship issue is not that good, not up to spec, and you want it fixed, don't accept, right? Unless your expert tells you that if the contractor says, don't worry, it's still covered under warranty, or we'll extend the warranty by another year, or whatever, that's not in lieu of fixing the problem, right? Now, if it's so small, like for instance, touch up paint, if they're not going to come back and they go, we're not, we'll just give you a check for $20 and you paint it on your own, I would say, okay, that's minor. But the bigger issue would be roof shingles blowing off your roof, water infiltration, foundation cracking, big ticket items. Those are very important. But if you're spending 600, 800,000 building a brand new house addition, renovating your kitchen, bathroom, and they're not doing it right, you as a homeowner, as a layperson, you look at it and it's not right. That's already a red flag already, right? You're retiling, they're putting new tile, brand new tile in your shower, and the grout lines are crooked and all that, right? If you know it's bad, I'm going to come in as an expert saying, yeah, I agree, this is not to spec. And the contractor will say, it's not really that bad. Well, how did you measure this thing? Did you use a string line? Did you use a level, or did you do it by eye? Oh, I do it by eye because I've been doing this like long time, right? So the whole idea is to get somebody else to help you. Get third-party verification. Don't try and do it alone. And I know it costs money, and the way the court system is, the legal system is, you cannot represent yourself, right? You have to hire a third party. It's basically rigged, right? In order for you to go to court, you basically have to hire an attorney, right? And the attorney is going to say, "Whoa, I'm not an expert at construction. I'm an expert at construction law." You have to hire an expert. So now after you wrote the $10,000 or $20,000 retainer check to your attorney, now you got to go write a $10,000 retainer check now to the expert witness. And you might say, man, why do I have to hire all these different people? Well, that's the way the system is, unfortunately, right? It's just terrible. It's like personal injury cases. You got to hire an expert to determine, well, why did the person fall down the stairs and hit their head and get injured? Well, because the railing's loose. Well, we got to hire an expert to go and look at the railing. Was it really loose? Was it corroded? Did they do maintenance? What happened here? They can't use the office manager of the building to give their opinion. They can as a witness, but not as an expert witness. Okay, so I know we're run out of time, but Martin, you got any other comments or questions that came up?
No, we hit all the questions that came up, and you definitely shared some good lessons. And the biggest lesson is our legal system and is rigged against the consumer.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other thing is just to let you know that if you file a complaint, it's going to get bogged in court. The court's way behind. So that's why I tell people it's best to settle rather than try to litigate. The litigation just costs you more and more money, and there's no guarantee you're going to win. So I know we're out of time. We went a little overtime, but Martin, do we get paid overtime for this? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I guess not. All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. If you're watching live, it's good. If you're watching the replay, thank you. And you can still post to various social media, and uh, we'll get your questions or comments addressed. And we always do that. If not, you can send us an email saying, "Hey, by the way, I posted something on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you didn't respond." And we'll be sure to do that. We have a very good track record of responding to everybody and making sure we share the valuable information. So tune in next time to the next webinar. Thank you.